Alright, so a couple of months ago, I'm sitting in this room just contemplating life, and I decided to give one of my friends a call. He happens to be a very, very talented guitar player named Joe. And I just realized I have a lot of friends named Joe. And one of the things that me and Joe like to do is we just like to discuss life, just discuss what's going on, see what's happening. And he says, Mike, we should hit up this Mexican restaurant that we usually go to downtown. And I'm like, I'm there. So I drive down to this Mexican restaurant, and as soon as I get there, I sit down. Joe's like, I have something to tell you. I'm like, what's up? He goes, my coworkers recently gave me a gift. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a normal thing that coworkers do. What'd they give you? A pair of new shoes, like a gift card to the Gap? He goes, no. Mike, my coworkers recently got me as a present a Silver Sky SE from PRS. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's backtrack. What did you just say? And let's backtrack. What did you just say? And he's like, you know what I just said. And I'm like, okay, is that what's hot in the streets right now? Is that what coworkers are just doing? They're just giving away PRS Silver Sky SEs? Like, what is this? This is an incredible gift. And in a moment of, I'm not sure if it was jealousy or rage, I'm like, dude, I demand that you let me borrow that guitar for a video because I need to try it out. I've never really played one for more than like 5 seconds at a guitar store. And he was like, dude, I got you. So I go to his house, I get the guitar, I bring it home, I start playing through my amps, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, instantly, this guitar is different. I mean, for under $1,000, this happened to be not just one of the best guitars I've played, but like one of the best instruments I've ever played. It was holding its own completely against guitars I had played in way higher price ranges, and it got me really thinking. So I did my research and I asked even more of my guitar friends, and they started telling me the exact same thing. This guitar is incredible. So that got the gears really turning in my head because I'd owned PRSs before, but none for lengthy amount of times. And I was like, if I could get that PRS, what would be the perfect one for me? Like, what would be the go-to? And that's when I looked on the internet and I discovered the PRS MCCARTY S2. And I think it was the perfect like range for me, just in like, it was USA MCCARTY. I looked at all the demos. It sounded amazing. I thought it was one of the best value guitars that I had found out there for what PRS was offering on it. But that's when it all went mad. You see, a couple of months ago, as YouTube does in the guitar world, everything starts going crazy and everyone starts posting about this one thing. You see, PRS came out with a MCCARTY SE and a MCCARTY DGT, and all of the guitar heroes that I respect, Tim Pierce, Corey Congilio, Rob Baker, they all started talking about these guitars are like the new thing that they've tried that's amazing. And I'm like, whoa, 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 guys, is it really that good? I had to see for myself because I had just gotten the S2 MCCARTY, so I thought it would be a great time to see what's really up with these line of guitars. So first of all, I'd like to introduce you. This is the PRS MCCARTY S2. And this is the PRS MCCARTY SE. And these two guitars happen to be very similar, but they also happen to have a lot of differences. Both of them top wood, they have maple, and on the back they have mahogany. They actually have the same pickups, which are the 5815s from PRS. They both have 22 frets, but the biggest difference comes, number one, in the construction. PRS S2 are actually manufactured in the US and Maryland, I believe, and these are manufactured over in South Korea. The other big difference is with the S2, you actually get a more emphasized curve, kind of like in a core model MCCARTY. And you get the scarf neck construction as opposed to the multiply in the SE. But we could talk about the specs all day. The big question is, how do these differences make the guitars actually sound different and feel different? So it is our guitar moral obligation to check it out. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like, what would be the most interesting thing to do in like comparison of these two guitars? Because I'm sitting here back about 4 feet from my speakers and I'm able to hear some like subtle tonal differences, but I need to like actually scoot forward. But I'm like, what would it look like? What would I be able to notice like in a mix? All right, so here's where it gets really interesting and where we get to the good stuff. In listening back, not just 4 feet away from my speakers, but actually right next to here and being able to hear the tones back in real time, I felt like the S2 had a little bit more control over the high end when it comes strictly to tonal differences, but that's not, I think, completely what this is about. When you think about these two guitars, and especially like I said before, I've owned two PRSs before. One was an SE and one was an S2, which is what I think makes this experiment so interesting. It really all comes down to how you define the word value and what you want in a guitar. If you don't care about what it says on the headstock, you don't care about that SE, you don't care about the asymmetric bevel shape, then the SE is probably gonna be for you. But if you want what I think, like I said before, is probably one of their best value American guitars and getting closer to the core model of the MCCARTY, then the S2 is what you want. But I think it gets really interesting, like the conversation gets really interesting when concerning this guitar. For the price, it kind of blew me away, and I'm not just saying that. And I think, especially when I think back to my first ever PRS, which was an SE Custom 24, which I liked, I really did like, and I used a lot at like live gigs and whatnot. But this, I think, especially for the price, is able to get way closer to the actual like S2 American sound, while still keeping like all of the features that I love about this guitar, like having the coil split. Not something that I necessarily use a ton in this room, just because it gets pretty noisy where I'm at. But being able to use all those in live scenarios and just being able to like feel this guitar and have a similar experience to when I was holding the SE Silver Sky and think to myself like, oh, this could be a very viable option. One of the other things that I feel like this reminded me of that's really cool to remember at times is that like two guitars can have the exact same company build, can have the exact same pickups and sound like completely different. And I want to know what you think. I want to know if you noticed some of those tonal differences or what you thought of them in the mix. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. It was a joy to just sort of play these guitars and to just sort of interact with the S2 over the past month and really see what it can do. Thank you just to PRS for making some great guitars and giving me some interesting things to play with about like some of my conceived notions about different guitar models, about SEs and S2s. And let me know in the comments, let me know, what is your favorite PRS that you've ever played? What is the one that did it for you? Also, again, if you want to know anything more about these two guitars, they can both be gotten at Sweetwater with the links in the description. It's one of the best ways to support the channel if that's something that you want to do, or if you're just curious about any of the gear that I use in this video or any others, make sure to check out those links. Like and subscribe if you had a good time, and most important of all, like most important, have a fantastic day.